All right. Well, as a mother to an adopted child myself, I really appreciate the opportunity to learn from you personally and hear how you've been led to now become an advocate for foster children yourself. So this is a really exciting thing for me.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to talk to you today.
Good. I understand from what I read that you came to your family at about 6 months old as a foster baby and then were adopted by your parents a year later. I'm interested in hearing how growing up, how did your parents walk with you sort of through your story and help you understand both the loss and joy involved in adoption?
Well, I was actually adopted at 6 months old.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was kind of, it's been an amazing ride, and I love my parents more than anything. You know, I really couldn't imagine life without them.
Yeah.
You know, and 3 years after my adoption, we adopted my little sister, Hannah.
Okay.
And she is just the sweetest thing. She's 12. She's thriving. She's amazing. She's, you know, an all-A student. She's so smart. She's got tons of friends. She's just a gem.
That's great.
Yeah.
So growing up, do you feel like, how did you sort of reconcile, how did they help you reconcile your story to understand both the need for adoption and what led to that, and also celebrate your family? Because clearly you celebrate your family. So how did they do that as parents? Are you able to put words to that?
Yes. Personally, you know, my parents, to me, did it in just such an amazing way. They, you know, I've always known that I was adopted, and I'm not sure how they influenced that. Probably just sort of by, like, reinforcing it or when I asked about it or whatever. But I've always known, and they've just been so amazing at, you know, telling me anything I want to know. So, you know, if I would come up to them with a question at like 4, they'd try and explain it in a way that, you know, I would understand completely. And, you know, they were so good about it with me and my little sister. We both just know, and we're happy with it. And, you know, a lot of kids or adults will look in and say, well, that's weird, you know, it's not your real family, it's not your real life, but what they don't realize is it is. There's no difference to me. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Great. So I know that your mom is like your biggest fan, which is totally understandable and
her
awesome.
Biggest fan.
So in sharing your story, I read an article in the New York Post where she was quoted as saying that you were born into not great circumstances, obviously, and suffered a lot of abuse. And then she said that you were totally unaffected by it. Would you agree with that? Would you say you've been totally unaffected by your past?
I would say that it definitely, I know that I went through withdrawals, and I was, you know, it was a long time coming, and, you know, but with a lot of love and happiness and care and safety. You know, my mom and dad did such a great job. And, you know, I definitely would say that, you know, a lot of times I'll tap into somebody's emotions and feel something that I could never imagine feeling, and think like, whoa, maybe I'm from a different time or something. So I think that maybe plays into it, but, you know, I just think that it's special what my parents did.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of those things, if you don't mind sharing? I know that it's really personal.
No, that's okay.
But what are some of those things that you feel like have been affected, those emotions, or, you know, not necessarily of an effect of the drug abuse, not that, but I mean just affected by knowing your story? Like, how has that impacted your life?
Well, it's impacted my life in a positive way, because I know that I'll never, you know, go near drugs or, you know, anything, alcohol. And so I think that's the only way it's affected me. I honestly, I've risen above it, and I feel very, you know, content with who I am, and you know, who my family is, and my little sister. And I'm just very grateful for all of them. So.
Yeah. Well, definitely one way that I see it having affected you is now your drive to serve others and to do something really good for kids who may not have the opportunity yet that you had as a baby, which is awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you came to fill this role as the spokesperson for National Adoption Day.
Well, I was on X Factor season 1 2 years ago.
Right.
And so that kind of gave me an amazing platform to be able to be in the same room with people from the Dave Thomas Foundation, and,
Yeah.
people from, all these amazing corporations and foundations. And so, one day I got a call and they said that they wanted me to do Home for the Holidays.
Uh-huh.
And I was thrilled. I was like, sure. And they came and they filmed my family, and that was fun. My dad and my sister were having a blast. They were not having the camera thing. So that was kind of a fun experience. And then a little bit later, Dave Thomas called me about top of the year and said, can we have a meeting? And they said that they wanted me to be an ambassador for the foundation. And I said yes, because I've always wanted to help kids. Like, that's what I wanted to do in my life. So I feel like that's what I'm meant to do. So, and so recently I went to the Wendy's convention and the Dave Thomas Foundation convention, and we raised $2.2 million for foster care adoption.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. I'll never, be able to feel that excited again, and that thankful and grateful and blessed. So, yeah.
That's great. So as someone who has seen the blessing of adoption on the side of being a parent, I take every opportunity I can on my very little platform compared to yours to encourage people to consider fostering and adopting. I don't believe that everyone is called to do that, however. That's a pretty unique calling to fill that role for a child. So
definitely, I agree.
How do you suggest people who aren't necessarily called to adopt themselves, how can they get involved to help waiting children and help families who are struggling?
Well, I think, people have asked me about people that just consider adoption, and I think that's a huge step, because I understand the magnitude of somebody sitting and saying, I'm going to bring a child into my home, and it's kind of, it's a big deal. And I know that it seems scary, but when you're helping another human being, to have a life and home and safety, I mean, it makes you feel like, wow, like I can do anything, and it gives you this feeling of overwhelming love for somebody, another child that you just want to love and give care to, and I think that's the most important. I mean, yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you for your time and for all your effort and for stepping up to the call to fill this role, to be the spokesperson. I think it's great, and it's a great way to show younger people, too, that they can get involved and that it's not just for older moms and dads.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Have an amazing day, and tell your kids I said hi.
Thank you.
Bye.